Here's an interesting one. The New York Times from 3 weeks ago, actually. Hollywood has a new way to dramatize addiction, is the title. It's a review of the movie 4 Good Days with Ashton Kutcher's wife. I forget her name. I'm sure it's in here somewhere. I have not seen the movie. I can't bring myself to watch it. I just can't do it. 4 Good Days, official trailer. I've seen the trailer and that was enough to me. Anyways, the New York Times article kind of shits on the movie. And from the preview, from the trailer, I could see why. But there was something really interesting in this article.
Thanks for tuning in to the Elevation Recovery Podcast, your hub for addiction recovery strategies, hosted by Chris Scott and Matt Finch.
Healthcare and pharmaceutical industry. This is a press release. Indivior looks beyond opioid addiction with foray into cannabis disorder treatment. What does this mean? Goes on to say, Indivior said on Tuesday it was expanding into medicines for cannabis-related disorders as the British drug maker looks to diversify beyond core sales of opioid addiction treatment. London-listed Indivior said it has agreed to pay $30 million upfront to Alis Pharma, a privately held French company, under an agreement to work exclusively on its lead experimental drug, which blocks a type of cannabinoid receptor. Alis Pharma's drug, AEF0117, inhibits the CB1 receptor found largely in the nervous system and also in some other tissues. The receptor helps in communicating sensations such as pain and regulating memory and eating behavior. What they're referring to is the endogenous cannabinoid system, which is the endocannabinoid system, the EDS. When you take CBD products, if you've ever taken a CBD product, those typically do not bind to the CB1 and CB2 receptors, although they have been shown to still be effective supplements. But in studies, they've shown that if there's at least a little bit of THC combined with the CBD, then the CBD can actually bind to those receptors, thereby creating an even more powerful CBD benefits than CBD alone without any THC. And what does the endocannabinoid system regulate? Things like pain, mood, immune system, sleep, and more. So this treatment, which Alis has worked on for 7 years, says that it selectively inhibits the CB1 receptor when the body has been made hyperactive and preserves other routine body functions. It goes on to say increasing prevalence of cannabis from the growing movement to legalize medical and recreational marijuana use is leading to greater concern for the potential of adverse outcomes, including elevated addiction risk. Indivior Chief Executive Officer Mark Crossley said, an estimated 192 million people worldwide used cannabis in 2018, making it the most used drug in the world, the United Nations said in a report last year. Well, I don't know about you, but I'm glad that it's that drug that's the most used drug in the world and not methamphetamines or crack or PCP or fentanyl. Next, we've got a phenomenal, inspiring story titled, it's on the reflector.com, and guess this was a Facebook post that went totally viral. This was posted here Tuesday, June 8th, this article. Let me put this picture up to you. Check this out. And I'll put it on the screen with my cool editing skills. Look at this picture right here if you're watching the video. The photographs stop you dead and you're scrolling. On the left is a police mugshot of a woman with a hollow and deceased face. Her baggy, half-closed eyes droop with addiction and exhaustion. Her dark hair is cropped nearly to the skin, save for a lock of dry pink bangs hanging over sunken brows. On the right stands a woman you can hardly believe is the same person. She glows with satisfaction and health, smiling with arms crossed, confidently in a crisp black robe. She wears a black university graduation cap with a 2021 tassel, sitting atop long golden hair. The photos do show the same person, but certainly not the same life. Yeah, that is a insanely awesome before and after drug addiction recovery photo. Says by age 12, she was using methamphetamine and cocaine, and it was apparent from the before picture. No drug does that typically other than methamphetamine. She was smoking crack and getting blackout drunk at 14. By the time she was 15, she was a full blown drug addict. She went in and out of juvenile detention. She didn't want to stop, but she did want to stop, but she could not, she said. She credits the police for helping her quit. After her fourth arrest, she was directed to a nonprofit organization that helped her to avoid prison. They stood beside her as she clawed her way out of her past, and on her own, she wouldn't have been able to stop. Now, after 8 years and 5 months without drugs, she's ready to graduate from university and enter a master's degree program. This is really awesome. The Facebook post has now been shared more than 5,000 times. The gist of the story shows that no matter what challenges you face at this point in your life, the future is still yours to shape and celebrate. Imagine starting off at the age of 14 or 12, really, but then by 14, 15, full blown drug addict, methamphetamines at that age, cocaine at that age, blackout drunk at that age, doing all that stuff. That's a very early start. For sure, that is, during the ages too, when you're still in high school, when your brain, or junior high, really, junior high and then high school, your brain is still developing. It's not done forming your personality, and your brain functioning and neuroplasticity is not got to the point where you're an adult. I mean, the before and after on this is just remarkable. She said, I did not live my life in vain. It was all meant to help bring others to a new place in their path. She posted earlier this week, it is not me. On my own, I destroy my life. I had some help, divine intervention. I resonate with that a lot. Same thing happened to me. It wasn't the police that got involved, or a nonprofit. However, it was my family, and I needed other people. I needed help. I needed human beings that loved me and that were willing to help me despite how horrible my behavior was when I was addicted. They saw past my behaviors being bad behaviors and knew that that wasn't me, that was what the addiction had done to my brain, and it had turned me into something that I really was not. Here's an interesting one. The New York Times from 3 weeks ago, actually. Hollywood has a new way to dramatize addiction, is the title. It's a review of the movie 4 Good Days with Ashton Kutcher's wife. I forget her name. I'm sure it's in here somewhere. I have not seen the movie. I can't bring myself to watch it. I just can't do it. 4 Good Days, official trailer. I've seen the trailer, and that was enough to me. Anyways, the New York Times article kind of shits on the movie. And from the preview, from the trailer, I could see why. But there was something really interesting in this article. All right, 4 Good Days is ultimately a family drama about the power and the limits of a mother's love. Close and Kunis's family dynamic has the kind of raw verisimilitude only talented actors can recreate. But if anything here were to be praised for realism, it wouldn't be the drama. It would be the boredom. Okay. Since I haven't seen the movie, I want to read further. In between scenes, both poignant and preachy, Molly languishes in her mother's suburban home, smoking unenjoyed cigarettes in a plastic chair in the garage. Kicking heroin involves skull crushing levels of boredom. Tired but wide awake, no hope of feeling comfortable. They call it kicking because of the way your legs grow cramped and restless. When Molly's not smoking in the garage, she's twiddling her thumbs, biding her time. But a Hollywood movie cannot just be about boredom. Okay, let me just stop right there. I've heard heroin withdrawal, opioid withdrawal, described in a lot of different ways. Even just this morning, one of the cool psychiatrists that I watch on YouTube, she's a holistic psychiatrist. She has a video that says sugar withdrawal is just like opioid withdrawal.
Sugar withdrawal is like opioid withdrawal.
And as someone that has gone through full-blown cold turkey sugar withdrawal and cold turkey opioid withdrawal, at least for my specific sugar withdrawal and opioid withdrawals, they were from completely different planets, those two withdrawals. In this article saying that heroin withdrawal has skull crushing or crushing levels of boredom. It's boring and your legs move around. It just goes to show you how fucking naive and ignorant so many people, journalists, writers, whatever. Wow. That is someone that has no fucking clue about drugs, drug withdrawal, anything, man. Let's move on. Here's a new article from the Chicago Sun-Times. It states that Kelly Osbourne talks about battling drug and alcohol addictions. And Kelly Osbourne is opening up about her battles with drug and alcohol addiction, stopping by Red Table Talk to discuss getting hooked as a teen and relapsing after the pandemic started, like so many famous and non-famous people have. I've seen it happen to one of my favorite comedians, relapsed onto alcohol and cocaine, and now went back to treatment, not sure what's going on. Now that is John Mulaney, hilarious comedian that got sober, I think, in his early 20s, and then was sober for a long time. Also, the guy from the Transformer movies, can't remember his name. He's been in a lot of really good movies. He apparently is going through some drinking and drug using and getting into all sorts of trouble as well. Now we have here Kelly Osbourne. She said, I was alone, sitting by a pool and waiting for someone to come have a meeting with me. And I saw this woman and her husband had a glass of champagne. It looked really nice. And I was like, I can do that too. She said on the Facebook Watch show. And the next day I had 2 glasses. And the day after that, it was bottles. Well, boy, I can sure resonate with that. I've been there. You know, I'm not sure exactly how long she had off alcohol. But do you know what the number one papaya is screeching in there? Do you know what the number one relapse trigger is for people that have quit alcohol? It's desiring alcohol. It's actually looking at the substance when other people are consuming it, whether they're next to you or they're in a movie or they're on a commercial or they're on a billboard. If you still link pleasure to drinking alcohol, pleasure to using a drug or specific drugs, then it's going to be hard to stay off for the rest of your life if you still link that much pleasure to it. That's why Chris and I talk so much about reframing alcohol, reframing whatever that person's main substance or substances is or were as undesirable mood substances. So it's really about reframing the substance as linking massive pain to that substance and linking massive pleasure to not using the substance or the behavior. And additionally, coming up with more adaptive and healthy resources for giving you the same benefits that the substance or behavior provided you with. Why do people drink alcohol? Well, typically because they want to feel the effects of how the alcohol makes them feel. Are there other substances or behaviors in the world that can make you feel like alcohol makes you feel? Absolutely. Alcohol binds to your GABA subtype B receptors in your brain and central nervous system. Do other substances bind to your GABA subtype B receptors? Oh, yeah. GABA A subtype receptors, which is very similar. Oh, yeah. Can you stimulate GABA by doing certain behaviors? Oh, yeah, absolutely. So I don't want to go too deep into analyzing all these news articles, so we'll move on. Yeah, here's a really good one. We're going to stay on this next one for a little bit. Medical news today. This is from 3 weeks ago. I almost did it then, but we had other stuff going on. Ibogaine for addiction, research, benefits, and more. We've talked about Ibogaine on here a few times. Medically reviewed by Deborah Rose Wilson. Whole bunch of alphabet soup after her name. Some anecdotal and early research evidence suggests that Ibogaine, a compound derived from a shrub in western Central Africa, may help reduce symptoms of drug and alcohol withdrawal, ease cravings, and lower the risk of recurrent use. Although some experts acknowledge that Ibogaine could be an excellent alternative treatment, the Drug Enforcement Agency, DEA, recognizes it as a Schedule 1 substance. This classification means that it is illegal and currently has no approved medical use in the United States. This article explains more about Ibogaine, including what the research says so far about using it to treat addiction and the potential risks. It also lists some other psychedelic compounds that may be useful in addiction treatment. We're not going to go into all those. We're not going to go super deep into this, but I do want to come to a very interesting part. And we've talked about some of this on the podcast before on previous episodes. Says other major issues may prevent Ibogaine from therapeutic use, even if researchers establish its medical properties. For instance, it's hard to gather large quantities of Ibogaine because humans have overexploited T. iboga. There are currently only 3 ways to make synthetic Ibogaine, all of which involve numerous steps and produce extremely low yields. The safety profile of Ibogaine is also currently unacceptable. The compound tends to accumulate in fatty tissues and can block potassium channels, causing heart problems. Furthermore, several people have died from Ibogaine toxicity. Ibogaine can also cause hallucinations that can be severe and last longer than 24 hours. It goes on to say some research suggests that Ibogaine somehow changes addiction related or promoting pathways between nerve cells in the brain. It may also affect signaling in the brain regions that play a role in the behavioral effects of drugs that are addictive. And finally, in 2012, the National Institute on Drug Abuse pledged $6.5 million to develop a non-psychoactive version of Ibogaine called 18-methoxycoronardine, 18-MC. I probably butchered that. Currently, researchers have completed a phase 1 human clinical trial of 18-MC, and there are plans for phase 2A clinical trials. So the long story, really short of this, is that Ibogaine is never, ever going to be legal in America as it is. They're not going to allow something that's probably the world's most powerful hallucinogen that's also has neurotoxicity and can kill you be legalized. So it's a good thing we have 18MC. The company that owns that compound and is bringing that to market has the patent on it now is MindMed, they have Kevin O'Leary, the Shark Tank venture capitalist guy backing it, and a great team. Looks like really exciting stuff. Hopefully, in the near future, within a few years, we will have 18MC to market, and hopefully it's as good as it looks like it's going to be, and it can help to mitigate some of this damage from this addiction and overdose epidemic that's only getting worse. And finally, I know this last one is a bit old news from March 25th, but trust me, this person has been in the news a lot lately. This is an article from addictioncenter.com. It says Demi Lovato opens up about addiction, overdose, and new documentary. I have not watched it. So in it, Lovato opened up about her father, who she described as an alcoholic and addict, who was abusive to her mother, she stated. And according to Lovato's mother, she witnessed some of the abuse as a child. Her father was also reportedly diagnosed with bipolar disorder and schizophrenia. Says Lovato started using alcohol as a student and tried cocaine for the first time at age 17. During this time, she was working for the Disney Channel. In the new documentary, Lovato, she explains that she used cocaine and Xanax together. That combination would eventually escalate to even more dangerous drug use. It goes on to say since 2010, Lovato has a history of substance abuse, receiving treatment in rehabs, relapsing, and regaining sobriety. The pop star had a long stint of sobriety, stating that she was celebrating 6 years sober in March 2018. However, in July 2018, the media was flooded with reports that Demi Lovato had suffered an overdose. It goes on. There's lots of gnarliness here. It looks like a really difficult time. Demi Lovato, Dancing with the Devil, is a reminder that addiction can reach anyone, even, and I'm putting this in here, even Disney teenagers. Doesn't matter how successful and wealthy a person is, addiction does not discriminate. Lovato's vulnerability in this series demonstrates that fact, the article states. That's all for today. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll see you on the next show.